Hey everybody, I want to share my screen here and we're going to start taking a look at our notes. I did that. There we go. Here we are. There's our PowerPoint. So the unit we're going to work on for the rest of the year, Unit 10, is going to be human impact on marine ecosystems. So today's just going to be a brief introduction to that. So when it comes to an ecosystem, we've had our freshwater ecosystems that we talked about in the fall, rivers and lakes and streams. So an ecosystem, our definition of that, to remind ourselves, is it's a distinct entity, usually with clearly defined physical boundaries, distinct abiotic conditions, so looking at temperature and water types, and then their energy source, which our deep water habitats want to have a different energy source, as well as the community of things that live there. Sorry about me getting distracted. A hummingbird zipped on by. I'm sitting out in my backyard. So within our ecosystems, the habitats are where we're going to find different organisms. Some ecosystems or habitats that we're going to be studying over the next 5 weeks until the end of our school year. We're going to have coastal habitats, things like the beach here in our picture, along with bays and estuaries, what I'll count as coastal habitats. Then we're going to talk about coral reefs, habitats out in the open ocean, deep sea habitats, and then our polar habitats in the Arctic and the Antarctic. Within all these habitats, all of them are going to have energy flow. One of your assignments this week is to watch an Edpuzzle and look at ecosystem services. Some of those services depend on the nutrient cycles being moved about, things like oxygen and carbon dioxide, as well as food web. We get a lot of food from the oceans. Our food webs are going to either start with things doing photosynthesis or photosynthesizers, or chemosynthesizers. Again, chemosynthesizers are going to be unique to when we talk about our deep sea habitat. So this is what would normally happen. However, energy flows can change. That's that human impact. So say perhaps we overfish for krill. Krill is used in a popular supplement, omega-3s, really good for you. We overfish the krill, that's going to have an impact on our habitat. Now we're getting less squid, another food source for humans. Our poor killer whale and sharks are getting all skinny and bony. So some of our important nutrient cycles, the nitrogen cycle is one that's important for the oceans. Phytoplankton need nitrogen. This is one that we tend to mess up too when it comes to farming and ranching, and we'll get to that here in a moment. So here's our nitrogen cycle. Fixation happens in the soil and a little bit in the ocean. Air is our major reservoir on Earth for nitrogen. Most of the nitrogen on Earth is in the atmosphere. It then has to be fixed into usable nitrates and nitrites. Also in the atmosphere, we have lots of carbon dioxide. With carbon dioxide, both the air and the ocean need to have not too much and not too little, just enough. If there's too much in the ocean, that's referred to as ocean acidification, another problem caused by humans, and we'll talk more about ocean acidification when we get to coral reefs. In the air, too much carbon dioxide causes climate change through the greenhouse effect. So with that climate change, so we're noticing because of excess carbon dioxide, we've noticed this since, or we can track the trend since the Industrial Revolution. Lots of things have been happening. Weather patterns are changing. Ice is shrinking, and we'll talk about ice when we do our polar ecosystems. We're getting higher sea levels, which have an impact on our coastal areas, And again, the ocean acidification. So most of this is happening because of human activities. This comes from the burning of fossil fuels, large-scale farming, and deforestation. All these lead to more carbon dioxide. And the farming leads to more nitrogen, and more nitrogen in the water is not a good thing. So these things, so the burning of fossil fuel is polluting our air. Farming and deforestation, so here we've got an image of the rainforest, or the Amazon rainforest specifically, being chopped down for people to use for farming. Short term, great benefit in putting up a farm for that farmer, especially in the Amazon with the rainforest, is those first couple years the soil is highly productive, but then it gets depleted.
Mom?
When that happens, not right now, honey, in a little bit.
How long, Mom?
When I'm done with this, I will talk to you. All right, so what happens is we get what's called the tragedy of the commons. This is results when an individual group or human or a group of humans prioritizes their needs over the needs of others. So we see this with farming. If one person has a small farm that benefits just them, not so bad. Large-scale farming where we're chopping down the whole rainforest, really bad. Or with pollution and fishing. We look here at our little comic. If people were to fish just enough to feed themselves, there'd be plenty of fish in the ocean. But what we're having is lots of waste and overfishing. So the way that tragedy of the commons happens, so in the case of greenhouse effect, sure, leaving your car idling, pumping all that CO2 in the atmosphere, but the AC is on while you're waiting for your McDonald's to get delivered is a benefit for you, but adding all that carbon dioxide to the atmosphere disrupts the balance. When it comes to farming, so not only do we get the carbon dioxide from the machinery, but the pesticides and fertilizers all damage our waterways. So while the farmer's benefiting, he's like, yes, let me dump all this pesticide and fertilizer because I'm going to get great crop output. Then what's damaged, though, is the waterways downstream. It's important with the tragedy of the commons is that there has to be a balance. We need to watch how much we use. It's not completely avoiding using it or not using something, but using it in a balance. All right, guys, that's it for our notes. These will be posted online for you also. Let me know if you have any questions.